Marcus Blackwood's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel of his Ferrari, the engine purring outside the small suburban grocery store in Denver, Colorado. 5 years. 5 years since he'd walked away from the only woman who'd ever made him feel human. The rain drummed against his windshield like bullets, each drop echoing the rhythm of his fractured heart. He shouldn't be here. His assistant had begged him to send someone else to handle the acquisition of the local chain, but something had pulled him back to this god-forsaken town where memories lurked in every shadow. Before we dive deeper into this heart-wrenching tale of love, loss, and redemption, I need your help. If this story touches your heart, please hit that subscribe button right now. We're so close to 10,000 subscribers, and your support means everything. Let's grow this community together. The automatic doors slid open, and Marcus stepped inside, his $3,000 Italian shoes clicking against the worn linoleum. The familiar scent of fresh bread and floor wax transported him back to simpler times when he was just another college kid scraping by, not the ruthless CEO of Blackwood Enterprises worth $2.3 billion. That's when he saw her, Sarah. Time stopped. The world tilted on its axis. His briefcase slipped from his fingers, crashing to the floor with a sound that might as well have been thunder in the sudden silence of his universe. She stood in the cereal aisle, her honey blonde hair catching the fluorescent light like spun gold. But she wasn't alone. Two identical little girls, maybe 4 years old, clung to her legs like beautiful barnacles. Their dark hair cascaded in waves, and when they looked up at their mother with adoring eyes, Marcus felt his knees buckle. Those eyes, deep brown, almost black, just like his. "Mommy, can we get the chocolate cereal?" one of the twins asked, her voice high and sweet. "Please," "Mommy?" the other chimed in, bouncing on her toes. Sarah's laugh, that same melodic sound that used to fill his penthouse apartment, wrapped around his heart like barbed wire. "Just this once, my beautiful girls." Barren. The word crashed through his mind like a wrecking ball. The doctors had been definitive. Sarah could never have children. It was the reason he'd given himself permission to walk away 5 years ago, when the pressure from his board, his family, his entire legacy had demanded an heir. But here she was, radiating maternal love, surrounded by two perfect little angels who called her Mommy. Marcus stumbled backward, his vision blurring. The twins looked exactly like Sarah had as a child. He'd seen the photos, but their eyes, their bone structure, the way the smaller one chewed her lip when concentrating on the cereal boxes. His phone buzzed, a text from his current fiancée, Victoria. "Darling, don't forget our engagement party is tomorrow. The senator's daughter expects perfection." Perfect. He'd chosen Victoria because she was perfect on paper. Beautiful, connected, fertile. Everything his board of directors and family legacy required, but she'd never made his heart race the way Sarah had, with just a glance across a crowded room. Sarah turned, as if sensing his presence. Their eyes met across 20 feet of grocery store mundane, and the years collapsed like a house of cards. Her face went white. The color drained so completely that Marcus instinctively stepped forward, afraid she might faint. One of the twins tugged on her sundress. "Mommy, who's that man? Why is he staring at us?" Sarah's lips moved, but no sound emerged. She looked like she'd seen a ghost, and maybe she had. Marcus Blackwood, the man who'd shattered her world, standing in her safe haven like a storm cloud blocking out the sun. "Nobody, sweetheart," she finally whispered, her voice cracking. "Just nobody important." The words hit him like physical blows. Nobody important. The man who'd once promised her forever, who'd held her during her darkest moments when the doctors delivered their devastating diagnosis, who'd abandoned her when she needed him most. Marcus forced his legs to move. Each step toward them felt like walking through quicksand. The twins watched him with curious eyes, his eyes, and he felt something fundamental shift in his chest. Sarah. Her name fell from his lips like a prayer. She gathered the twins closer, protective instincts flaring. "Girls, go pick out some fruit. The pretty apples over there." The twins hesitated, sensing the tension crackling between the adults like electricity before a storm. "Go on," Sarah encouraged, her smile forced but warm. "I'll be right here." As soon as they were out of earshot, Sarah's composure crumbled. What are you doing here, Marcus? After all this time? Business acquisition. I didn't know you were... He couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't process what his eyes were showing him. What? Still alive? Still breathing after you destroyed me? Her voice shook with barely controlled emotion. Surprise. I survived. The twins, he choked out. Sarah. They have my eyes. She laughed, but the sound was hollow, brittle. Do they? I hadn't noticed. Don't lie to me, please. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Are they mine? The question hung between them like a loaded gun. Sarah's jaw tightened, and for a moment he saw the fierce woman who'd once challenged him in board meetings when she worked as his project coordinator, who'd never backed down from a fight. You lost the right to ask me personal questions the day you walked out of our apartment and never looked back. You were Barren. The words exploded from him, raw and desperate. The doctors said... The doctors were wrong. Her voice cracked like a whip, drawing stares from other shoppers. She took a shuddering breath, lowering her voice. Turns out stress can cause temporary infertility. Amazing what the human body can overcome when it's not being systematically destroyed by the person who's supposed to love it unconditionally. The grocery store seemed to spin around him. Temporary infertility. All those nights he'd held her as she cried, believing their dreams of a family were impossible. All the pressure from his board about securing the Blackwood legacy with an heir. The gradual poison they dripped in his ear about Sarah being unsuitable for a man of his status. When? The question tore from his throat. When what? When did you find out you could have children? Sarah's eyes filled with unshed tears, but her voice remained steady. 2 months after you left. I was sick. Thought it was just heartbreak manifesting physically. Turned out it was morning sickness. The world tilted. 2 months. She'd been pregnant for 2 months after he'd walked away, believing she was broken, believing the lies he'd let others plant in his head about their relationship being a dead end. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you, she laughed again, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. Tell the man who abandoned me because I couldn't give him children that I was suddenly pregnant with twins? Tell the man who'd already moved on to Victoria Ashford, yes, I saw the tabloids, that his barren ex-girlfriend was carrying his heirs. Each word was a dagger between his ribs. Sarah, You what? You're sorry? You made a mistake? Her voice rose again, then caught as she spotted the twins returning with armfuls of apples. It doesn't matter anymore, Marcus. You made your choice. I made mine. The twins approached cautiously, their identical faces scrunched with concern. Mommy, why are you crying? The taller one asked, reaching up to touch Sarah's cheek. I'm not crying, Emma. Just got something in my eye. Sarah's voice transformed, becoming warm honey again as she knelt to their level. Emma. Marcus's grandmother's name, the woman who'd raised him when his parents were too busy building their empire to notice their son. And what about you, Lily? Did you find good apples? Lily, his mother's middle name, the only soft thing about the woman who demanded he choose duty over love. His daughters, his actual daughters, named after the women in his family, growing up without him while he played house with a woman he felt nothing for. We got the reddest ones, Lily announced proudly, holding up an apple like a trophy. The man at the fruit counter said red apples are the sweetest. Just like you two, Sarah murmured, gathering them close. Marcus watched this intimate family moment, feeling like an intruder in his own children's lives. The twins were perfect, Sarah's warmth and kindness written across their features, but with his stubborn chin and the Blackwood family's distinctive eye shape. Girls, Sarah said carefully, this is an old friend of Mommy's. His name is Marcus. Like the Roman emperor? Emma asked, ever the serious one. Marcus found his voice, though it came out rougher than intended. That's right. Very good. I like Caesar better, Lily declared with 4-year-old authority. He had a cooler name. Despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. His daughters, were brilliant. We have to go, Sarah said suddenly, standing and taking each twin's hand. Say goodbye to Marcus, girls. Bye, Marcus, they chorused, waving with their free hands. As they started to walk away, Marcus found himself paralyzed. He couldn't let them leave. Not again. Not when he just discovered the most important thing in his world existed. "Sarah, wait!" She stopped but didn't turn around. The twins looked back at him with curious expressions. "We need to talk. Please." "No, we don't." Her shoulders were rigid with tension. "You have your life. I have mine. The girls have never known you existed, and they never will." The finality in her voice sent panic racing through his veins. "You can't just... I can do whatever I want. You're nothing to them. You're nothing to me." She started walking again, her words floating back to him like smoke. "Goodbye, Marcus." He stood frozen in the cereal aisle, surrounded by the detritus of his shattered world. His briefcase lay forgotten on the floor, papers scattered like confetti at a funeral. Emma and Lily, his daughters, 4 years old, which meant Sarah had been pregnant when he'd started dating Victoria, when he'd announced his engagement to the press, when he'd convinced himself he was making the practical choice. His phone buzzed again. "Victoria, the caterers need to know about the seating arrangements. Your mother insists on..." He turned the phone off. For the first time in 5 years, Marcus Blackwood didn't care about business, board meetings, or social expectations. He cared about 2 little girls who liked red apples and Roman history, who made their mother laugh with pure joy, who had his eyes and would grow up thinking their father was a stranger who'd stared at them in a grocery store. He had to fix this. Somehow, some way, he had to fix what he'd broken. But first, he had to figure out how to breathe again. The Blackwood mansion felt like a mausoleum as Marcus paced his study at 2 a.m., still wearing his suit from the disastrous grocery store encounter 12 hours earlier. Every step echoed off the marble floors, a hollow sound that matched the cavern where his heart used to be. His laptop screen glowed with Sarah's LinkedIn profile. She was a freelance graphic designer now, working from home. Smart, practical, perfect for raising twins alone. The social media detective work had been easy. She wasn't hiding. She'd built a life in Denver, far from the Manhattan society circles that had once suffocated them both. A knock interrupted his spiraling thoughts. "Come in." Victoria glided through the door in a silk robe, her perfectly styled hair somehow still immaculate despite the late hour. "Darling, you missed dinner with my parents. Mother was quite upset." "I was held up." She studied him with calculating eyes. "You look terrible. What happened in Colorado?" "Everything. Nothing. The end of the world as he knew it. Just business complications." Victoria's laugh tinkled like breaking crystal. "Well, whatever it is, fix it quickly. The engagement party is tonight, and Senator Ashford is bringing some very important people. This could secure that defense contract you've been chasing." "Right. The engagement party. The dog and pony show where he'd parade around his suitable fiancée while his actual children slept in a modest house 1,000 miles away, not knowing their father was the man on magazine covers, not knowing he existed at all." "Victoria, what if I told you I wasn't sure about us?" She paused in adjusting her reflection in the antique mirror. "I'd say you're having pre-wedding jitters, perfectly normal for men your age. What if it was more than that?" This time she turned fully, her blue eyes sharp with suspicion. "What exactly are you saying, Marcus?" The truth sat on his tongue like poison, that he'd found the only woman he'd ever loved, that she had his children, that every moment he spent pretending to care about Victoria was a betrayal of everything real in his world. But Victoria's father controlled 3 Senate subcommittees. Her family connections had opened doors that even Blackwood money couldn't breach. Breaking their engagement would mean corporate warfare, social exile, the potential destruction of everything he'd built. "Nothing," he said finally. "You're right. Just nerves." She smiled, the expression perfect and empty. "Good. Now come to bed. You need to look your best tonight." As she left, Marcus turned back to his laptop. Sarah's Instagram showed glimpses of a life he'd missed. Birthday parties with homemade cakes, bedtime stories with 2 sleepy girls in pajamas, Halloween costumes she'd obviously sewn herself. Pure, authentic happiness in a way his gilded existence had never achieved. His phone rang. The caller ID showed his assistant. "Sir, I have the Denver acquisition reports you requested." "Email them." "Actually, sir, There's something odd. The grocery chain you wanted to buy? The owner refuses to sell, says it's been in her family for 3 generations. Marcus sat up straighter. Her family? Yes, sir. Sarah Morrison. She inherited it from her grandmother 2 years ago. Morrison, Sarah's maiden name. She'd gone back to it after he'd left. Sir, should I increase the offer? Marcus stared at Sarah's photo on his screen, a candid shot of her laughing while the twins covered her face in finger paint. Real joy, real love, everything his world of mergers and acquisitions could never buy. Sir? No, he said quietly. Cancel the acquisition. Cancel it? But the board approved. I said cancel it. He hung up and opened a new browser window, searching for flights to Denver. Sarah's hands shook as she tried to focus on the logo design for her latest client. The twins were at their Tuesday play date with the neighbors, giving her precious work time, but all she could think about was Marcus's face in the grocery store yesterday. The shock, the recognition, the devastating moment when he'd realized Emma and Lily were his. Her doorbell rang, and her heart nearly stopped. Through the frosted glass, she could see a tall, broad-shouldered silhouette that could only belong to one man. Sarah, please, I know you're there. She pressed her back against the door, closing her eyes. Go away, Marcus. I canceled the acquisition. That made her pause. What? The grocery store chain. I was here to buy it. I canceled the deal. Slowly, she opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. Marcus stood on her modest porch looking completely out of place in his expensive suit, his dark hair disheveled as if he'd been running his hands through it. Why? She asked through the gap. Because it's yours. Your grandmother's legacy. He leaned closer to the crack in the door. Because I've already taken enough from you. Despite herself, tears pricked her eyes. He remembered. After all these years, he remembered how much her grandmother had meant to her. How the stories of building the grocery business from nothing had inspired her own dreams of independence. That doesn't change anything. I know, but Sarah, please, let me see them. Let me try to explain. Explain what? How you decided I was defective and threw me away? How you moved on to your perfect society princess while I was throwing up every morning carrying your children? His face crumpled. I thought I was doing the right thing. For you, for the company, for everyone but us. She started to close the door, but his voice stopped her. I dreamed about them. The quiet confession froze her in place. Every night for 5 years, I dreamed about children who looked like you but had my eyes. I told myself it was just guilt or wishful thinking. I never imagined. His voice broke. They're perfect. Sarah, they're absolutely perfect. They don't need you, but I need them. The raw honesty in his voice cut through her defenses like a blade. I need them like I need air, like I've been suffocating for 5 years and didn't realize why. Sarah closed her eyes, fighting the war between her head and heart. Her head screamed that this was the man who'd abandoned her at her lowest point, who'd chosen duty over love, who'd built a life with another woman while she'd struggled alone through pregnancy and raising twins. But her heart remembered the man who'd held her during thunderstorms, who'd surprised her with midnight picnics on his office balcony, who'd once promised her that love could conquer anything. They'll be back in an hour, she said finally. Can I wait? Against every self-preservation instinct she possessed, Sarah unlatched the chain and opened the door. Marcus stepped inside, his eyes taking in the modest but warm living room. Children's books scattered across the coffee table, crayons and art supplies organized in colorful bins, photos of the twins at every age covering the mantel. You've done an amazing job, he said softly. I didn't have a choice. He picked up a framed photo from the side table, Sarah in a hospital bed, exhausted but radiant, holding 2 tiny infants. Where was this taken? Denver General. I was in labor for 18 hours. She wrapped her arms around herself. I kept thinking you should be there. Even after everything, even knowing you'd moved on, I still thought you should be there. The photo trembled in his hands. Sarah, I called you. The confession ripped from her throat. When the contractions started, I called your office and your assistant said you were in the Hamptons with Victoria. I hung up before leaving a message. Marcus set the photo down carefully, his face white. When? July 15th, a Tuesday. She'd never forget the date. I thought about trying again, but then Emma had complications. She wasn't breathing properly, and I spent the first week of their lives wondering if I'd lose one of them. After that, it seemed wrong to disrupt your perfect new life. July 15th. He remembered that Tuesday. He'd been at a charity polo match with Victoria, playing the part of the devoted fiancé, while his daughter had been fighting for her first breath 1,000 miles away. Which one is Emma? The serious one. She was born 3 minutes before Lily. Sarah managed a small smile. She's been looking out for her sister ever since. And Lily is exactly like you were at that age, according to your mother's stories. Fearless, charming, convinced the world exists for her entertainment. The casual reference to his mother stopped him cold. You talked to my mother? Sarah's cheeks flushed. She called me, about 6 months after you left. Said she'd heard we'd broken up and wanted to check on me. She never told me. I asked her not to, but we've kept in touch. Christmas cards, photos of the girls. Sarah's voice grew quiet. She sends birthday presents, addressed to 2 very special little angels, so I can pretend they're from a distant relative. His mother, the woman who'd pushed him toward Victoria, who'd lectured him about duty and bloodlines and suitable marriages. She'd been secretly maintaining a relationship with Sarah and his daughters while he'd been living a lie. She knows? She figured it out when I sent the first photo. Emma has the Blackwood chin, and Lily has your grandmother's nose. Sarah studied his shocked expression. She never told you because she knew you'd made your choice. But she wasn't going to let her granddaughters grow up thinking no one from their father's family cared about them. The betrayal was stunning, but underneath it was something else. Relief. His mother had protected his children when he'd been too blind and proud to do it himself. Car doors slammed outside, followed by the sound of running feet and girlish laughter. They're back, Sarah said unnecessarily. The front door burst open, and Emma and Lily tumbled inside, their cheeks flushed from playing outside. Mommy, we made friendship bracelets, and Mrs. Henderson said we could take cookies home, and... Emma stopped mid-sentence when she spotted Marcus sitting on their couch. Oh, it's the man from the store. Hello, Emma, Marcus said carefully. Hello, Lily. You remember our names. Lily bounced on her toes, delighted. Most adults don't remember kids' names. Your names are very important to me. Emma studied him with 4-year-old seriousness. Are you really Mommy's friend? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sarah tensed, ready to intervene, but Marcus answered with devastating honesty. I was once upon a time. I was her very best friend in the whole world. What happened? Lily asked with the bluntness only children could manage. I made some very bad choices. I hurt your mommy's feelings, and I've regretted it every day since. Emma processed this information with the gravity of a tiny judge. Did you apologize? Not properly, not the way I should have. You should apologize properly then, Lily declared. Mommy says proper apologies have 3 parts. Sorry, why it was wrong, and how you'll do better. From the mouths of babes. Marcus looked at Sarah, who was watching the interaction with a mixture of pride and terror. You're absolutely right, Lily. Would it be okay if I apologized to your mommy properly? Both girls nodded solemnly, settling cross-legged on the floor like they were about to watch their favorite show. Marcus stood, his heart hammering against his ribs. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for believing the doctors when they said you couldn't have children. I'm sorry for letting other people convince me that our love wasn't worth fighting for. I'm sorry for choosing what looked safe and easy over what was real and precious. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't interrupt. It was wrong because love isn't about guarantees or business advantages or what looks good in newspapers. It was wrong because you deserve someone who would stand by you through everything, who would believe in miracles, who would choose you every single time. His voice cracked. It was wrong because I broke my promise to you, and I broke my own heart in the process. And how will you do better? Emma prompted when he paused. Marcus looked at his daughter, his brilliant, serious, perfect daughter, and felt something click into place in his chest. I'll do better by being honest, by admitting that every choice I've made for 5 years has been wrong, by accepting that I don't deserve forgiveness, but hoping for it anyway. He turned back to Sarah. I'll do better by being the man you fell in love with, instead of the man I thought I had to be. Lily clapped her hands. That was a really good apology. Emma nodded approvingly. Now what, Mommy? All eyes turned to Sarah, who stood frozen in her own living room, tears streaming down her face. Now, she whispered, I need to think. The engagement party was in full swing when Marcus finally arrived at the Hamptons estate, 2 hours late and wearing yesterday's wrinkled suit. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow prisms across marble floors, while Manhattan's elite mingled with champagne flutes and practiced smiles. Victoria appeared at his elbow like a perfectly groomed shark. Where have you been? The Ashfords are asking questions, and your mother looks ready to commit murder. I need to tell you something. Her fingers dug into his arm, her smile never wavering for the benefit of watching guests. Not here, not now. Victoria, Senator Ashford wants to discuss the defense contract. Senator Morrison is interested in that renewable energy project. This is not the time for whatever melodrama you're cooking up. But Marcus was no longer listening. Across the room, his mother stood near the French doors, elegant in navy silk and pearls. Their eyes met, and her expression shifted from annoyance to something like understanding. She knew. She'd always known this day would come. Excuse me, he told Victoria, walking away from her protests and toward his mother. Mother. Marcus. Eleanor Blackwood studied her son's haggard appearance with sharp eyes. You look like hell. I saw them. Sarah and the twins. Her champagne glass paused halfway to her lips. I see. Why didn't you tell me? Tell you what? That the woman you abandoned was raising your daughters alone? That they're brilliant and beautiful and have never known their father's name? Eleanor's voice was pitched low, but each word hit like a whip. What exactly would you have done with that information, Marcus? I would have… What? Left Victoria at the altar? Scandalized society? Abandoned your responsibilities here? She shook her head. You made your bed 5 years ago. Sarah and the girls have made theirs. It doesn't have to be that way, doesn't it? Eleanor glanced toward Victoria, who was working the room with predatory efficiency. That girl's father controls half the Senate Defense Committee. Her family has connections that could destroy everything your grandfather built, everything I've spent my life protecting. And what about protecting my children? The question hung between them like a loaded gun. Eleanor's perfectly composed mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the grandmother who'd been secretly sending birthday presents to 2 little girls she'd never met. Your children are being protected, she said quietly. Sarah is an exceptional mother. They're happy, healthy, loved. But they don't know me. Perhaps that's for the best. The words hit him like a physical blow, but before he could respond, Victoria materialized beside them with the senator's daughter in tow. Marcus, darling, Senator Morrison was just telling me about her daughter's work with children's charities. Isn't that wonderful? The irony was devastating. Here he was making small talk about children's charities while his own daughters were 1,000 miles away, believing he didn't exist. The evening passed in a blur of forced conversations and hollow congratulations. Marcus went through the motions, shaking hands, accepting well wishes, playing the part of the devoted fiancé, while his soul withered with each passing minute. Around midnight, he escaped to the balcony overlooking the moonlit ocean. The party continued behind him, but the sound felt muffled, distant, like it was happening to someone else. Second thoughts? He turned to find his business partner and oldest friend, David Chen, holding 2 glasses of whiskey. Third and fourth thoughts, Marcus admitted, accepting the drink. Want to talk about it? David was the only person who knew the whole story about Sarah, the only one who'd argued against the engagement to Victoria from the beginning. I found her. Sarah. Marcus nodded, then told him everything. The grocery store encounter, the twins with his eyes, the canceled acquisition, the visit to her house, the impossible choice between duty and love. When he finished, David was quiet for a long moment. What are you going to do? I don't know. Victoria's family could destroy everything if I break this engagement. But Sarah, God, David, she's raising my children alone. They don't even know I exist. So make them know you exist. It's not that simple. David studied his oldest friend with knowing eyes. Isn't it? Marcus, you've spent 5 years building an empire, accumulating power and wealth and influence. For what? To impress people you don't even like? To honor commitments that make you miserable? It's not about me. It's about the company, the employees, the legacy. David laughed bitterly. What kind of legacy are you building if it costs you the only family that actually matters to you? Through the French doors, Marcus could see Victoria holding court, her engagement ring catching the light as she gestured dramatically. Beautiful, connected, perfect on paper. Everything a Blackwood heir was supposed to want. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Emma's serious face and Lily's infectious grin. He saw Sarah's smile when she looked at their daughters, the pure love that had always been her superpower. I can't just walk away from all this. Why not? The question was so simple, so obvious that it stopped his breath. Because, because it's who I am. It's what I was born to do. No, David said firmly. It's what you were told to do. There's a difference. Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown Denver number. The girls asked if you'd like to come to Emma's soccer game on Saturday. It's at 10 a.m. at Riverside Park. You don't have to answer now, but if you want to be their father instead of a stranger, this is where it starts. Sarah. His hands shook as he read the message twice, then 3 times. Good news or bad news? David asked, reading his expression. I think it's both. Saturday morning in Denver dawned crisp and bright, with the kind of Colorado sky that stretched endlessly blue in all directions. Marcus sat in his rental car outside Riverside Park for 20 minutes, watching families arrive with folding chairs and coffee cups, trying to work up the courage to walk onto that field and claim his place in his daughters' lives. His phone had been buzzing all morning, Victoria demanding to know where he was, his mother warning him about the consequences of his choices, board members concerned about his sudden absence from important meetings. But for the first time in 5 years, Marcus Blackwood didn't care about any of it. He spotted Sarah before she saw him, helping Emma lace up cleats while Lily practiced kicks with a pink soccer ball. They'd both inherited Sarah's athletic grace, but their competitive fire was pure Blackwood. There he is, Lily shrieked, abandoning her soccer ball to run toward him. Marcus came! Mommy! Marcus came! The entire Riverside Elementary soccer community turned to stare at the stranger in the expensive suit, but Marcus only had eyes for the little girl launching herself at his legs with complete trust and enthusiasm. Hey, Lily, he managed, his voice thick with emotion. Did you come to watch Emma play? She's the best on the team. Well, except for Katie Sullivan, but Emma's faster. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Emma approached more cautiously. Studying his face with that serious expression he was beginning to recognize as uniquely hers. You really came, she said, like she'd been testing whether adults kept their promises. I really came. Sarah reached them, slightly breathless. Girls, go warm up with your team. The game starts in 10 minutes. As the twins ran off, Marcus and Sarah faced each other across the careful distance of 5 years and 1,000 regrets. Thank you, he said simply, for this chance. Don't thank me yet. They don't know who you are. To them, you're just a friend of Mommy's who wanted to watch Emma play soccer. What do I need to do? The question seemed to surprise her. What do you mean? To be their father, to be part of their lives. Tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. Sarah studied his face, searching for something. It's not that simple, Marcus. You can't just show up and expect... I know I have no rights here, no claims. But Sarah, those are my daughters, my children. I've missed 4 years of their lives because of my own stupidity, but I don't want to miss another day. What about Victoria? What about your engagement party last night that was plastered all over social media? His heart sank. She'd seen the photos, the pictures of him and Victoria dancing, cutting cake, playing happy couple while his real family was 1,000 miles away. I ended it. Sarah's eyes widened. What? This morning. I called Victoria and told her I couldn't marry her. I called the wedding planner and canceled everything. I called my mother and told her I was done living the life she chose for me. He ran a hand through his hair. I probably destroyed half my business relationships and definitely scandalized Manhattan society, but I don't care anymore. Marcus! Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. I want to be here. I want to watch Emma's soccer games and help Lily with her homework and read bedtime stories and teach them to drive someday. His voice cracked. I want to be their father, Sarah, not the stranger who stares at them in grocery stores. Their actual father. The referee's whistle interrupted them, signaling the start of the game. Around them, parents settled into folding chairs and began the ritual of youth soccer encouragement. We'll talk after, Sarah said finally. Just watch your daughter play. That's enough for today. Emma was indeed fast and fierce and absolutely fearless on the soccer field. She played defense with the intensity of a tiny general, organizing her teammates and never giving up on any play. When she scored the winning goal with 30 seconds left, the pure joy on her face nearly brought Marcus to his knees. As the teams lined up to high-five each other, Emma broke from the line and ran straight to him. Did you see? Did you see my goal? I saw everything. You were incredible. She beamed, then seemed to remember herself. Do you want to come for ice cream? The team always goes for ice cream after games. Marcus looked at Sarah, who nodded almost imperceptibly. I would love that more than anything. The ice cream parlor was chaos. 20 kids high on sugar and victory, parents trying to maintain order while celebrating their young athletes. Marcus found himself crammed into a booth with Emma on one side and Lily on the other, Sarah sitting across from them with an expression he couldn't quite read. Marcus, do you have kids? Lily asked around a spoonful of strawberry ice cream. The question hit him like a punch to the gut. No, not really. That's sad, Emma said matter-of-factly. Kids are the best. Well, except when they're annoying. But mostly they're the best. I'm starting to realize that. If you had kids, what would you name them? Lily continued her interrogation with 4-year-old determination. Marcus glanced at Sarah, who was suddenly very interested in her coffee. Well, if I had daughters, I think I'd want to name them after strong women. Maybe Emma, after a famous queen, and Lily after a beautiful flower. Both girls giggled. Those are our names, Lily announced as if he might not have noticed. What a coincidence, he said solemnly. The afternoon passed in a blur of sticky fingers and chocolate smiles. Marcus learned that Emma wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up, that Lily's favorite color was purple but only on Tuesdays, that both girls could recite the entire plot of Frozen from memory. When it was time to leave, the twins insisted on showing him their favorite playground equipment. Marcus found himself pushing them on swings, his expensive suit completely forgotten as they shrieked with delight and begged him to push them. Higher, higher. I can see why you never got over him. Marcus turned to find another soccer mom standing beside him, watching Sarah help some of the younger kids on the monkey bars. Excuse me, Sarah, the way she looks at you, it's the same way she looked at the girl's father in those old photos she showed me once. The woman extended her hand. I'm Jennifer, by the way. Lily's in my daughter's preschool class. Marcus, I know who you are. Took me a while to place you, but I finally remembered the business magazine covers. Jennifer's voice was friendly but pointed. Sarah never talks about the girl's father. We all assumed he was out of the picture permanently. I was. Marcus slowed the swings, giving Emma and Lily time to jump off safely. I made some very bad choices. And now? Marcus watched his daughters run towards Sarah, who scooped them both up in a hug that radiated pure maternal love. Now I'm trying to figure out how to make better ones. Jennifer studied him for a moment. Those girls worship their mother. She's been everything to them. Mother, father, best friend, protector. If you're thinking about disrupting that, I would never hurt them, Marcus said fiercely. Or Sarah. I've done enough damage already. Good, because if you did, every soccer mom in Denver would hunt you down. Jennifer's smile took the sting out of the threat. But if you're serious about being part of their lives, you should know. Sarah's been alone for a long time. She doesn't trust easily anymore. As if summoned by their conversation, Sarah approached with the twins flanking her. Ready to go, girls? Do we have to? Lily whined. Marcus was going to teach us about Roman emperors. I'm sure Marcus has other things to do. Actually, Marcus said carefully, I was hoping we could talk. The three of us, I mean, while the girls play. Sarah hesitated, then nodded toward a bench at the edge of the playground, where they could watch the twins but speak privately. So, she said once they were seated, you really broke up with Victoria. This morning, right before I got on a plane to Denver. The tabloids are going crazy. Billionaire bachelor breaks heart of senator's daughter. Society wedding of the century canceled. Sarah's voice was carefully neutral. Your phone must be ringing off the hook. I turned it off. Marcus, you can't just ignore your responsibilities. What responsibilities? The question came out sharper than he'd intended. The responsibility to marry a woman I don't love? To spend my life pretending to be happy while my real family grows up without me? Your real family? He looked at Emma and Lily, now attempting some kind of elaborate gymnastics routine on the playground equipment, their laughter carrying on the afternoon breeze. They're my daughters, Sarah. You're... He paused, searching for the right words. You're the only woman I've ever loved. You three are my real family, whether I deserve that or not. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, watching their children play. Do you know what the hardest part was? After you left, Marcus braced himself for more pain he deserved. It wasn't the morning sickness or the weight gain or even labor. It was lying in that hospital bed, holding our babies, and realizing that the man I'd loved more than life itself would never know them. That Emma and Lily would grow up with this hole where their father should be. Each word was a knife between his ribs. I used to make up stories about you, she continued. When they'd ask about their daddy, I'd tell them you were a brave knight on a quest in a faraway land, that you loved them but couldn't come home yet. When they got older and stopped believing in fairy tales, I told them you were traveling for work, that maybe someday you'd come back. Sarah, but as they grew up, as they started asking harder questions, I realized something. Her voice grew stronger. They didn't need a father who was ashamed of them. They didn't need a man who saw them as complications to his perfect life. They needed someone who would choose them every single time without hesitation. Marcus felt the words hit him like physical blows. I'm not ashamed of them. I could never be ashamed of them. Aren't you? You spent 5 years building a life that had no room for us. You were planning to marry another woman while your daughters learned to walk, to talk, to read. Sarah's eyes blazed with suppressed emotion. What was I supposed to tell them when they asked why Daddy never called on their birthdays? Why he never came to their Christmas plays or soccer games? You could have told them the truth, that their father was an idiot who made the worst mistake of his life. The truth? Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. The truth is that you chose your image over your family. You chose what looked good in boardrooms over what was real and precious in yours. Emma called out from the monkey bars, Mommy, look how far I can go. I see you, baby. You're amazing, Sarah waved, her voice transforming instantly into warm honey before turning back to Marcus. That's what they need. Someone whose whole face lights up when they achieve something, who sees them as the most important thing in the world. I do see them that way. Do you? Or do you see them as another acquisition, another problem to solve with money and influence? Sarah stood up, brushing off her jeans. Because that's not how parenting works, Marcus. You can't buy your way into their hearts. You can't schedule love around board meetings. That's not what I'm trying to do, isn't it? You show up in your $1,000 suit, talking about canceling business deals and breaking engagements like they're just items on a to-do list. But being a father isn't a corporate merger. It's showing up every single day, even when it's boring or hard or inconvenient. Marcus stood too, desperation clawing at his chest. Then teach me. Show me how to be what they need. I can't teach you to love them, Marcus. Either you do or you don't. I do love them. I love them so much it terrifies me. Sarah's expression softened slightly. Love isn't enough. They need stability. They need someone who won't disappear when things get complicated. I won't disappear. Not again. How can I believe that? How can I trust you with their hearts when you already broke mine? The question hung between them like a chasm. Marcus looked at his daughters, now racing each other to the top of the slide, their faces flushed with joy and competition. Because they're not you, he said quietly. I was young and stupid and scared when I lost you. I listened to all the wrong people, believed all the wrong things. But those girls, Sarah, they're everything good about both of us. I would die before I hurt them the way I hurt you. Pretty words. Then let me prove it. Give me a chance to show you that I'm not the same man who walked away 5 years ago. Sarah was quiet for so long that Marcus wondered if she'd heard him. Finally, she spoke. 1 month. What? You can stay in Denver for 1 month. You can see the girls, spend time with them, prove that you're serious about this. But there are rules. Marcus nodded eagerly. Anything. First, you don't tell them who you are. Not yet. As far as they know, you're just Marcus, Mommy's friend. If you decide this is too hard, if you want to go back to your old life, they don't get hurt. I won't. Second, she continued, cutting him off, you don't try to buy their affection. No expensive gifts, no trips to Disney World, no using your money to make up for lost time. If they're going to love you, it has to be for who you are, not what you can give them. Understood. Third, you respect my authority as their mother. You don't undermine me or try to be the fun parent while I'm the disciplinarian. We're a team, or this doesn't work. Yes, absolutely. Sarah studied his face, searching for something. And fourth, you don't break my heart again. I survived it once because I had to, for them. But I won't put myself through that again. The vulnerability in her voice nearly undid him. Sarah, Mommy! Lily came running over, her cheeks flushed from playing. Emma said Marcus has to go home now. Does he have to go home? Marcus looked at Sarah, his heart in his throat. She looked back at him for a long moment, then at their daughter's hopeful face. Actually, she said slowly, Marcus is going to be staying in Denver for a while. He might come to dinner tomorrow night. Would you like that? Both girls erupted in cheers, and Marcus felt something inside his chest crack open. Not breaking, but blooming. Like a flower that had been frozen for 5 years, finally feeling sunlight again. Can we show him our room? Emma asked. And our art projects? And the fort we built in the backyard? We'll see, Sarah said, but she was smiling. Right now we need to get home. It's almost dinner time. As they walked back to the parking lot, Lily slipped her small hand into Marcus's. The gesture was so natural, so trusting, that he had to stop walking for a moment. Are you okay? Emma asked, noticing his pause. I'm perfect, he managed. Absolutely perfect. The backyard fort had been upgraded twice, now featuring a rope ladder, a pulley system for transporting snacks, and what Emma insisted was a communication center made from tin cans and string. Marcus sat cross-legged on the grass, holding one end of the string telephone while Lily whispered secrets from inside the fort. Can you hear me, Marcus? Her voice came through the can, tinny but filled with giggles. Loud and clear, Agent Lily. What's your report? Emma is teaching her dolls how to do surgery, and Mommy is making grilled cheese sandwiches, and I think the neighbor's cat is planning to steal our soccer ball. Very thorough intelligence, Agent Lily. I'll take it under advisement. 6 months. 6 months of Sunday morning pancakes and bedtime stories, of soccer games and scraped knees, of homework help and blanket forts. 6 months of learning that being a father was nothing like running a corporation. There were no quarterly reports on love, no metrics for measuring the success of a hug. Marcus, Emma called from the back door. Mommy says dinner's ready. He'd moved to Denver permanently after the first month, selling his Manhattan penthouse and relocating Blackwood Enterprises headquarters to Colorado. The board had been apoplectic. Victoria's father had threatened various forms of corporate retaliation, and Manhattan society had written him off as having a midlife crisis. Marcus had never been happier. Coming! He stood up, brushing grass off his jeans. Actual jeans, not the designer suits that had once defined him. Inside the modest house that had become his whole world, Sarah was plating grilled cheese sandwiches while the twins washed their hands. The domestic scene still took his breath away, The simple perfection of family dinner after months of solitary meals in five-star restaurants. "How was the fort inspection?" Sarah asked, bumping his shoulder with hers as she handed him plates to distribute. "Structurally sound, but Agent Lily reports suspicious cat activity. We'll have to investigate after dinner." These moments, casual touches, shared jokes, the easy rhythm of partnership, had developed slowly over the months. Sarah had been cautious, watching him for signs that he'd retreat back to his old life when the novelty wore off. But gradually her walls had come down, and Marcus had been allowed back into the warm circle of her trust. "Daddy, can you cut my sandwich into triangles?" Lily asked absently, then froze as she realized what she'd said. The kitchen went completely silent. Emma stared at her sister with wide eyes. Sarah's hand tightened on the spatula. Marcus felt the world shift on its axis. I mean, Marcus," Lily stammered, her face flushing red. "I don't know why I said that." "It's okay, sweetheart," Sarah said gently, kneeling to Lily's level. "Sometimes our hearts know things before our heads do." Emma looked between the adults, her serious little face processing the tension in the room. Are you our daddy?" The question hung in the air like a soap bubble, fragile and shimmering with possibility. Marcus looked at Sarah, who nodded almost imperceptibly. They'd agreed months ago that if the moment came naturally, they wouldn't lie. "Yes," he said simply, "I'm your daddy." "But why didn't you tell us?" Emma's voice was small, confused. Marcus knelt down too, bringing himself to their eye level. "Because I wanted you to know me first. I wanted you to decide if you liked me as Marcus before you had to think about me as daddy." "But why weren't you here before?" Lily's voice was even smaller. This was the question he'd been dreading and preparing for in equal measure. "Because I made a very big mistake. I thought some things were more important than family. I was wrong. Very, very wrong." "Did you not want us?" Emma asked, and the question nearly destroyed him. "Oh, sweetheart, no. I wanted you more than anything in the world. I just didn't know how to be brave enough to choose you over everything else." He reached out, taking both their small hands in his. "But I'm here now, and I'm never leaving again. If you want me to be your daddy." "We already decided you were our daddy," Lily announced with 4-year-old pragmatism. "We decided months ago. We were just waiting for you to figure it out." Emma nodded seriously. "Mommy showed us pictures of you when you were young. You have the same nose as us. And the same stubborn chin," Sarah added softly. "And you make Mommy smile the way she does in the old pictures," Emma continued. "The really happy smile." Marcus looked at Sarah, whose eyes were bright with unshed tears. "The really happy smile?" "The one I thought I'd lost forever," she whispered. Later that night, after the girls had been tucked into bed with extra stories and butterfly kisses, Marcus and Sarah sat on the back porch watching the stars emerge over the Colorado sky. "So," Sarah said, curled against his side on the porch swing. "Daddy, huh? Apparently I've been daddy for months without knowing it. They've been calling you that to each other since Christmas. I heard them whispering about what to get Daddy Marcus for his birthday. His birthday that they somehow knew, despite me never telling them when it was?" Sarah laughed. "Your mother may have mentioned it in one of her care packages." Marcus shook his head, still amazed by the conspiracy of love that had surrounded his children while he'd been too blind to see it. "I have the most incredible family in the world." "Yes, you do." "Sarah?" He turned to face her, his heart suddenly hammering. "I know we're taking things slow. I know you need time to trust me completely. But I need you to know, these 6 months have been the best of my life. You and Emma and Lily, you're everything I never knew I was looking for. Marcus, I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give. I just needed you to know that I love you. I love all 3 of you with everything I have." Sarah was quiet for a moment, studying his face in the starlight. "Do you know what Emma asked me last week?" "What?" "She asked when you were going to marry Mommy so we could be a real family." Sarah's voice was soft, wondering. "I told her we were already a real family, that love makes families, not pieces of paper. But she said she wanted the same last name as her daddy." Marcus's breath caught. "What did you tell her?" I told her that sometimes grown-ups need time to make sure they're making good choices. That marriage is a promise to love each other forever, and promises like that are very important. They are important. She asked if I thought you were ready to make forever promises. Marcus slid off the swing, pulling something from his pocket as he dropped to one knee on the porch boards. Sarah gasped, her hands flying to cover her mouth. Sarah Morrison, you are the love of my life, the mother of my children, the woman who saved me from myself. His voice shook as he opened the small velvet box, revealing a ring that caught the starlight like captured fire. I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I broke your heart and wasted 5 years of our lives together, but I'm ready to make forever promises now. Will you marry me? Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she stared at the ring, not the massive diamond that society would expect, but a vintage sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds, elegant and timeless and perfect. It was my grandmother's, Marcus explained, the one Emma is named after. She would have loved you, loved the girls. Marcus, if it's too soon, I understand. If you need more time, yes. The word was so soft he almost missed it. Yes? Yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I want to be your wife and build a life together and give our daughters the complete family they've been dreaming of. The ring slid onto her finger like it had been waiting 5 years to find its home. Marcus swept her into his arms, spinning her around the porch while she laughed through her tears. From inside the house came the sound of running feet and excited whispers. They're awake, Sarah said, still breathless from the kiss. Should we tell them? I think they already know. Sure enough, when they turned toward the house, two small faces were pressed against the living room window, grinning from ear to ear. Emma held up a handmade sign that read, "Welcome to the family, Daddy," in crayon rainbow letters. How did they? Marcus started to ask, then shook his head. You know what? I don't care. I don't care how they knew, or what cosmic forces conspired to bring us back together, or whether I deserve this happiness. You deserve it, Sarah said firmly. We all deserve it. The back door burst open, and the twins tumbled out in their pajamas, launching themselves at their parents with squeals of delight. Are you getting married? Emma demanded. Are we going to be a real family? Lily added. We're already a real family, Marcus said, gathering both girls in his arms. But yes, Mommy and I are getting married. Can we be flower girls? Can we help plan the wedding? Can we get a puppy? Sarah laughed. Let's start with the wedding and see how that goes. As they sat together on the porch swing, Marcus and Sarah with the twins curled between them, Marcus felt the last piece of his heart click into place. He'd spent 5 years chasing success, accumulating wealth and power, and all the things the world said mattered. But this was everything that actually mattered. His wife-to-be, his daughters, his family, complete at last. I love you, he whispered to Sarah over the girls' heads. I love you too, she whispered back. All of us, forever. In the distance, Denver sparkled like a promise, and the future stretched ahead of them, bright with possibility. The billionaire who had once frozen at the sight of his barren ex-girlfriend with twins had become the man who couldn't imagine life without them, and they all lived happily, messily, perfectly ever after. Did this story touch your heart? If you're dreaming of your own happy ending or love tales of second chances and family redemption, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this story with someone who believes in the power of love to transform lives. What would you have done in Marcus's situation? Let me know in the comments below.